Hi, welcome to episode 5 of Mrs. Cford Vlogs. I'm Stephanie Crawford, and this is the third in the series I'll show you. Today I'm going to focus on using the game concept in class. You may have never heard of the game concept. It looks like this, and the directions I'm going to give you are very different than the directions in the packaging. So even if you own the game concept, you may not have ever played it like we're going to talk about. So the first thing to know is that you can play collaboratively. The way that I do it, I play collaboratively. It comes with cards, and these cards all have 3 easy, 3 medium, 3 hard. And the person who I call it can choose which clue they want to use. So I feel like that gives a lot of comfort to students who may not always feel like they are going to do the best. They may have some anxiety, some fear about going into a game. This differentiates for them because they can choose what they think they'll be the best at. You can also go first and show that it's not as easy as it might look. Okay, so be able to laugh at yourself. It's good for us all. The game also comes with a board. Okay, so the board looks like this. So all of these are categories that the person who is it can choose to try to get someone to guess their clue. Okay, now the whole group, since it's collaborative, the whole group is guessing at once. So you're going to have kind of a chaotic atmosphere, but it works, and they get very excited and into it. So let's say my clue was the Hunger Games that I chose. I might put a big exclamation mark to mark a main idea next to the movie, and then I might put another one, because I let them use 2. I might put another one next to the book. So that's going to tell my students that it's a book and a movie primarily. That's like the biggest clue I can give them. Then there are these little cubes, okay, that they're able to use to mark other things that will help the students guess what their item, person, thing is. Okay, so for the Hunger Games, I might put the fighting, I might put death, I might show that it's a female lead, and I do that all by putting cubes there, and there's no limit to the amount of cubes. The other thing is, if you go to the other side here, there are colors that they can use, and there are shapes, okay? What I really love about this game is that it is a fun game that they get into, but they're still practicing the skills of characterization. They have to use inferences. It really helps you review different concepts that you've used in your classes too. So when I introduce this, I always use the board that I just showed you. And I always use the cubes and the 2 exclamation marks. I start us out with the cards, and I have a couple people go, and I let them choose, and I use a 3-minute time limit. So I tell them once someone starts, there's 3 minutes for them to give us enough clues to try to guess whatever one they picked off of here. If the time runs out, we lose that round together. It's all of us. Okay? If they get it, then what I do is allow the person who guessed correctly to go up and be it next. Now, if you have someone who continues to get it right all the time, you can put a limit on that. You can say, okay, you can be it once, and if you guess correctly the next time, choose someone else to go up in your place. That way more people get the chance to do it. But you can also then actually make it for your classes, and that's what I think is even more fun. So I made cards like this. So we had done in Lit a tall tale unit, and one of the clues that I put on the cards was Babe the Blue Ox. But then in social studies, they had been talking about Teddy Roosevelt, so I put him on the card. We had also covered, in social studies and Lit, Holocaust, and then we read The Giver, so elsewhere. In science, they'd been talking about changes, chemical change, so I put that as one of the clues, and I included it with Johnny Appleseed. To me, in this case, if a student got this card, they'd be able to choose the one that they felt most comfortable with. If you have a science-minded student who thinks, I know exactly what clues to put to get someone to guess chemical change, then they can do that. If you have a student who feels way more comfortable with Johnny Appleseed and thinks, okay, I've got this, I know that I can do this, then they've got that choice. Now, I do kind of color code them with easy and harder, but that's just my opinion. So some of them look at the hard ones and they've got it. They know exactly what they're going to do, what I thought would be a hard one for them. So Charles Lindbergh and communism, again, they study Charles Lindbergh in social studies. They've been studying communism in Lit and in social studies. It's a good way to tie it all in. When I have a card like this one, this wasn't anything to do with Lit. This was social studies when they studied Chief Joseph. and then science when they study kinetic energy. So I don't have to have it as subjects from my class because they're still focusing on those skills that I want them to know. They have to have characterization for those ideas. They have to be able to put those ideas with the ideas here in a way that someone else will be able to guess them. What I also love about this game is, let's say that they've marked something here. Let's say when I had the Hunger Games, if I had marked this square here, if I had put my cube there, if you can see that, that has what looks like a mermaid and a superhero. Now, someone might start guessing superheroes because they saw that, and that would be totally confusing to them. It's not at all in the direction I want them to go, so I can take that cube away. I can't say anything, but I can take the cube away, and that lets them know that they were on the wrong track when they started guessing superheroes. Now, they're not just in there blindly having to guess what those boxes mean on the game board either. Each game comes with these sheets that are front and back, and they are basically the game board in a little paper form. I would suggest laminating them. I haven't done that yet, but it will help them with the wear and tear. But you can see it tells you close up what those categories mean. So as the students are trying to guess, they can look down to make sure they understand what those categories actually are. So for instance, with that one that looked like a superhero, if I actually look at the card, I can see that it's just meaning fictional, imaginary, okay, or a witch. So it could be a superhero, but it doesn't have to be. So those cards are important so that everyone feels like they're a part of the game too. Now the game tells you, if you played it the way that it's supposed to be played, that it's really only, that it is really only for 4 to 12 people. I play with whole classes. So I've had 25 students playing one game at one time as I introduce it. So that way I'm able to help step them through it. They can all see how it goes. They get more comfortable with it. And then you can split it up into multiple groups if you have more than one copy if you want to. But don't be scared to do it because you have a full class and one copy of the game. Now you could, if you don't want to purchase the game, you could make your own board. But it's going to take a lot of work because you do have to come up with those categories. But you could tailor it more to what you need also if you wanted specific categories, okay? The game runs, I think, around $35 to $40. I always recommend trying to get it at a local board game store if you're able to, but of course you can go to Amazon if that's not an option. You make your own cards for nothing. I did use the colored ink to print it out so that there would be a difference between an easy clue and a harder clue. And you can laminate those cards to make them work or last longer also. When you're playing, pay close attention to your students because you're going to learn a lot about them also. Some will be really quiet. They're observers. They're going to stand in the back. They're going to wait to guess until they're sure they've got it. And a lot of times they're right. Watch the other ones too who are loud out of the gate. They'll guess a lot. Now they might end up hitting on something right, but they're not afraid. They're risk takers. The mix of those students together can come up with some really cool rounds where you get some off-the-wall guesses that you never thought would happen. They remember things from classes that you are surprised stuck with them, and they'll want to play again, which is the best part of it, I think. You've reviewed, you've worked on those skills, and they want to do it again. It's also a nice change from just kind of the day-to-day things that we do in the classroom. So I hope that you're willing to give Concept a try. I would love to know how it goes for you if you do try it out. And I will go ahead and give a link, because this is the second one I've done where I've used a card template. I'm just going to go ahead and give a link to the template I use in the comments, so you don't have to start from scratch. You can just use those and personalize it, make a copy and personalize it as you would want to use it. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again on the next episode of Mrs. Cford Vlogs.